Hello, everyone. Michela here again with another session of the World on Chain. What we wanted to discuss today is a little bit different than the previous sessions, as we will be, for the first time, cover one of the most recognized chains out there, EOS. And from EOS, we have Daniel, who will represent EOS Nation and Pomelo. Daniel, would you like to introduce a little bit yourself?
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Michela. Happy to be here and talk about EOS and Pomelo. Yeah, I'm with EOS Nation. We're a validator on the EOS blockchain. We've been around since the very beginning. So for those, I'm sure there's a lot in your audience. As you said, EOS is one of the most recognized chains out there. A lot of your audience may be familiar with the old EOS, which is what attracted my team back in the day to this idea of a scalable L1 blockchain with low fees. It was the first blockchain I came across that was capable of delivering the use cases that I was really interested in seeing. These Web3 use cases of disintermediating, removing middlemen, building applications that average people would be able to use with great user experiences. And we were really attracted to the potential. There were all these promises. Your audience may be familiar with it. Block One raising $4 billion in the token sale. EOS was the largest ICO in history back then, and even to this day. So there was a lot of promise and excitement in the community that there's this big war chest of money that was promised to be deployed to building all the public goods and the things that the ecosystem around this ecosystem. And there was promise of a worker proposal system that the community would be able to coordinate to take inflation from the network and fund the things that the community want to build. And over time, years have passed, and what ended up happening was the company that raised all that money didn't end up really deploying any of that money to build the ecosystem. To their credit, they built an amazing software, the EOS.io operating system, which is what runs the EOS network. In my opinion, it's the best blockchain technology out there. They did meet the promise of building a scalable L1 blockchain. The problem was though, great technology isn't enough to have a thriving ecosystem. You need to build the ecosystem around the technology. You need to have opportunities for developers to earn a living, to build things. And what ended up happening is that the funds that were raised in that ICO ended up just sitting unused in Block One's treasury. Years passed with kind of hints and promises that eventually would get deployed. The community never saw that, and over time, we saw a decline in engagement from the community, developers leaving, teams shutting down because they couldn't afford to pay the bills. It was looking pretty dire for the EOS community. It was about a year ago, maybe not quite now, the community basically rallied together using the consensus mechanisms that exist within EOS, which is, again, one of the other great things about EOS is the flexibility and the governance structure. We use that governance structure to essentially fire Block One, the company who built the software and raised all the funds. And we elected a new body to represent the EOS network, the EOS Network Foundation. And we allocated funding from inflation to this new body. And they've been now kind of leading the charge for EOS and deploying capital like crazy, like we've never seen before. And funding those public goods that have been so direly lacking, funding teams, building, doing all the strategic things with the funding that just wasn't happening. And it's a renaissance really on EOS now. It's like night and day, the atmosphere. We're seeing developers now returning to EOS, building amazing things. And I'm probably more excited now for EOS than I ever have been. So yeah, at EOS Nation,
Yeah, you were saying that the past has been quite like a turmoil for EOS, but what about the future? What about the roadmap for this year? And again, I think that we can transition a little bit about Pomelo.
Yeah. Well, I just, like I said, I think the future is super bright. The EOS Network Foundation has a really ambitious roadmap, and actually they don't just have a roadmap, they've been already delivering. They just released their second quarterly report. They released a quarterly report kind of outlining, here's all the things we spent our money on and here's what we accomplished. And they just released the latest one. If you read through it, it's dense, it's packed with all this value that has been created for the community. I can speak more to, so I don't represent the EOS Network Foundation. I'm a block producer, validator. We do play a very key role within this ecosystem, not just as a validator, but I'd love to talk a little bit about Pomelo as well. So I'm the CEO of Pomelo, and Pomelo is kind of one of the key pillars within the EOS ecosystem, funded by the EOS Network Foundation. So you can think of the EOS Network Foundation as sort of this. It's elected by the token holders to be this sort of more centralized, top-down, strategic funding mechanism. You can think of Pomelo as more of the bottom-up, grassroots. We receive funding from the EOS Network Foundation. It goes in a pool. Pomelo is basically a crowdfunding platform that uses quadratic funding. We're heavily inspired by Gitcoin. If your audience is familiar with that, on the Ethereum network, very successful. And I mentioned, years had gone by where we were waiting for a system like this. Pomelo was actually our third attempt. Our team, EOS Nation, had made a couple of attempts of building a similar system. We weren't able to get the funding to make it possible, to unlock funds to actually send to the projects going through the system. So the key change that happened is now we have funding unlocked, a new kind of funding body. The EOS Network Foundation is now, directing those funds. People are getting paid, and now, Pomelo, I would say is the, I think a nice balance too. We've got this top-down strategic funding the things that are obviously need to be funded, whereas the Pomelo kind of surfaces the things that the community is interested that might not be so obvious to someone at the highest level.
Okay. What about the people, the community? How can they participate? In which roles can they have?
Yeah, so anybody, basically the way that Pomelo works is you just have to qualify as a public good. So anybody can create a project on EOS, or a project that benefits the EOS.io ecosystem. So EOS is one of a few blockchains running the EOS.io software. And as long as you qualify as a public good, and what a public good is basically something that's non-excludable, basically free to use, and non-rivalrous, which means anyone using this thing doesn't prevent someone else from using it. So it's things like open source software, media, news, education, things that anyone can access for free. As long as your project kind of fits in that category, you're eligible to participate in Pomelo. And then it's really up to the community to decide. So it's kind of a democratic system. Anybody can donate. It's quadratic funding. So the way that it works is anybody can donate to a project, and those donations are matched from a pool of funds, and it's matched quadratically. So, for example, $101 donations would be matched much higher than one $100 donation. So it sort of represents the opinions of the community rather than the opinions of one whale. And yeah, so going back to the role, it's because it has that democratic nature to it. It creates a signal for the whole community. So someone new can come into the space, has zero reputation. They can have a wild idea, and as long as they qualify as a public good and get a few community members to support them, they can start raising a little bit of money, putting that money towards building perhaps a prototype. And one of the powerful things about Pomelo is that it's done in a quarterly basis. So every quarter we have another season. And a big part of the power is you return every season. So you may enter the ecosystem brand new, zero reputation. you submit a project, you don't raise a lot of money, but it's enough money to maybe build a little prototype. And you come back the next season and you show the company, hey, look what I did with the money you gave me last season. And you keep building on that reputation. And over time, your reputation grows in the community. You get more and more funding. And eventually you get the attention of, for example, the EOS Network Foundation. And maybe you get some more direct funding from the EOS Network Foundation. Maybe you catch the attention of a VC and get your project funded by a VC. So Pomelo isn't, your only opportunity to get your project funded. It's really a foot in the door, that stepping stone to build your reputation, to fund those wild ideas that might not have otherwise gotten any attention because it was kind of too out there, and until the community showed support, that's when it got the attention.
What about again the startups and entrepreneurs that are listening to you right now? What is the first step? What is if you could put the first few steps in a very summarized way, how do they join the network? How do they is there any barrier to enter? Any KYC process that they need to go through? Guide them through the first few steps.
Sure, yeah. So like I said, very low barrier to entry. There is, so if you're a project raising funds, you do have to complete KYC at the end of the round to claim your matching funds. There is no KYC required to start. Any donations that you receive from community members go directly to your project without requiring any KYC. Those are direct donations. It's at the end of the round when it's time to collect the matching pool, which typically the matching pool is really the big prize. With that quadratic funding nature, you can consider a donation almost just like a vote. You can make a very small donation that ends up actually resulting in a large portion of a matching pool going to a project. So it's, again, in terms of opportunities for people, it's not just an opportunity for people raising money, but it's an opportunity for community members who have a little bit of money and want to help direct where public funding goes. You don't have to have a lot of money, and you can have a pretty big impact on how you're directing public funding. So as a donor, all you need is EOS. You need an EOS account, and you log into Pomelo, you create an account, and you can start donating. As a funder, or as someone raising funds, similar idea. All you need is really an idea or a project that qualifies as a public good. You create an account on Pomelo, you submit your project, and you start sharing it with the community. We've got pitch sessions our team does. So I would definitely encourage anyone who's creating a project on Pomelo, again, because of that quadratic nature, you need to get the community to support you. So join the EOS Discord channel. We do a weekly fireside chat in Discord, and we do pitch sessions on Twitter Spaces. So if you're thinking of creating a project, just submit your project and start sharing it, and join our community. Talk about it. Subscribe to a pitch session and get the word out there, and start getting donations. And it's really dead easy. It's to get some money through Pomelo. There's very low barrier.
And how does Pomelo defend users and even the people that are donating right now against bad actors? I would say, like, if I were someone that was going to fund project, again, I will be very skeptic and be sure that all the right measures in terms of security are there. So how does Pomelo defend the founders? Yeah,
so it's many layers of defense that we're layering on season after season. So we're in season 3. We're still pretty early in this game. We're getting more and more advanced as we go. The big attack vector is a Sybil attack. So if your community is not familiar with that, it's basically, because it's a quadratic system, the more donors you get, the more money you get. So there's a incentive there to create lots of accounts, pretending you're more than one person, and funneling money from lots of accounts and donating to a project. We defend against that multiple ways. There's this mechanism we launched recently called the trust bonus. So again, to participate in Pomelo as a donor, you create a Pomelo account with a social account. You can log in with something like GitHub or Apple or Google. And we are able to link multiple social accounts to increase your trust bonus. We even got something called Port, which allows you to prove you have a valid passport without actually sharing the details of that passport. And that gives you a large trust bonus. And then the higher your trust bonus, the more weight your votes have. So, it results in a higher matching, and that sort of dilutes those who didn't go through the process of getting a trust bonus. That's just one way. The big thing, though, going back to, so it's the community. So again, season after season, if you want to really be successful in Pomelo, you want to play the long game, and you're not here to extract money in one season. You want to earn money season after season. And if you're caught cheating by the community, you get disqualified, you lose the reputation, and you burn those bridges. So a big part of the defense mechanism is just sort of the game theory of wanting to optimize in the long term. It's actually easier to be a good actor and earn money than it is to cheat the system. On top of that, we've got a lot of on-chain analytics systems. So our team built this system called EOS Detective, where we monitor token transfers and things like that. So that's another way we monitor against Sybil attacks. We can actually just look on chain and see the path tokens take, and oftentimes it's very obvious to see, oh wow, there's this one account that's sent tokens to these 10 different accounts, and then they all donated to the same project. It's very easy to kind of adjust the results in those cases.
Now, I have a very interesting question. How, after they get the funding, right, what is the commitment that this startup has with a person that is for the project? How is that commitment measured? Is there a delivery time? Is there a deadline? How is that commitment measured?
Yeah, essentially the commitment is measured by the community in subsequent rounds. So there's no, the way that Pomelo works is you get your funding immediately. Like I said, those donations you receive as soon as they're made. And after you claim your matching pool at the end of the season, assuming you didn't get disqualified for breaking the rules or anything like that, you make it to the end of the round, you claim your matching funds. You could run away and never come back. And there's nothing, we're not going to chase after you. But what you're not going to be able to do is come back next season and raise more funds, and the community is going to remember that you burn that bridge. So there absolutely is, our goal with Pomelo isn't to eliminate all waste. Our goal with Pomelo is to ideally, it's an opportunity for developers to build that reputation. We hope that the majority of the funds go to actually good quality value add for the community. We expect that a portion of that may go to bad actors, but we really believe that for the most part, again, the long game is the game that's going to win, and the incentives are there to not be a bad actor, to actually deliver value, return next season. And again, the money you can earn being a bad actor in Pomelo is a tiny fraction of what it could be if you actually play the game well and do good for the community. Because then you're missing out on those grants from the ENF, you're missing out from VC opportunities, you're missing out in future seasons.
Yeah. What's the maximum and the minimum that, in this case, an entrepreneur can get? What's the maximum that someone has been granted? Also, about how much money Pomelo has helped raise for the public good so far. Can you guide us through some of the metrics?
Yeah. So in season 1, we raised a little over 600,000 in total for number of projects on EOS. In season 2, we raised quite a bit more. It was $1.2 million. 140 different grants that were approved to participate in season 2. So 1.2 million divided across 140 different projects, a wide range. Some of those projects earned very little, didn't get much support. The more popular ones were somewhere, more than $60,000-$70,000 or so that they each raised. And again, that's just one season. So, some of these projects raised that much in season 1 and came back in season 2 and raised a similar amount. So, up to, hundreds of $1,000s across 2 seasons for the most successful projects. And again, that's just once a quarter. So every 3 months is another opportunity to earn, if you're successful, that's sort of the level that you could be looking at. Season 2, the matching pool is a little bit smaller than in previous seasons, given the price of the tokens. The crypto market has taken a pretty big hit recently. The funding that Pomelo gets comes from inflation, so it's the EOS token inflation. We haven't increased inflation on EOS, so we've got less dollars to work with when the value of EOS went down. And for the first time, we've got a cap. The most any project can get is 10% of the total matching pool.
Okay, that's an interesting. So I think it's a fair, it's a fair proportion. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about VCs? If they are hearing you right now, what role do they play? And again, of course, they can donate on a project, but can they do more? Can they participate more in the development of Pomelo?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're looking for matching partners. So I mentioned we've got a matching pool right now that primarily comes from the EOS Network Foundation. So the EOS Network Foundation every quarter allocates a portion of funds to go to the matching pool. We also raise money ourselves. The .gems team, actually, one of our subsidiaries of EOS Nation, they do an NFT series to kind of build the engagement for Pomelo every season, and all of the primary sales for those NFTs get put into the matching pool as well. But we're looking for more, and I think it's a great opportunity for VCs. Become a matching partner, put a pool of funds up on Pomelo. We're working towards next season actually having custom pools. So a VC might have their own criteria. For example, maybe they don't want it to be a public good. Maybe they want the acceptance criteria to be something else because they're looking to fund some other projects. And Pomelo is a great opportunity for them to, again, put a little bit of money in the matching pool. You can almost consider it a marketing budget, but at the same time, and then you're getting the signal. You've kind of put this criteria in place to get people applying for that money, and you got the community voting for it, and you're generating a signal, and now you get some strong candidates come out of that season that you actually decide you want to fund further and continue. Maybe you want to seed them outside of Pomelo. So I think it's a great opportunity for deal flow for VCs.
Yeah, and I guess that for the ventures teams of exchanges as well. I collaborate closely with the Huobi Ventures team, and I think that any ventures team of any crypto exchange will be interested to contact you after this meeting. So thank you so much for that. Now, just to start wrapping up, what is next for Pomelo? And that will be our last question for today.
Sure. So season 3 just started today. Submit your applications today. It's going to go on for the next month. But we're doing lots of work. Like I said, we're right now, grants is our primary product within Pomelo. We're building a new product called bounties. So it's sort of the inverse of grants, where rather than applying for money to do something, you have something you need done and you can put some money up and solicit community to bid on, hey, that sounds like something I can do, and they can apply to complete that work. So we're really excited about bounties.
Workload, you mean?
Sorry, say that again?
So not, in this case, not funding, but workload, you mean? So they don't put, they're not funding, but more like, is there someone that can help me to do this?
So the person who creates a bounty would be the one providing the funding. So EOS Network Foundation will probably be one of our heavy users of the bounties platform. Or people who have been successful raising money in a grant in Pomelo, now they have this, hey, I've committed to building this thing. I have money, but I don't have enough devs. So I'll take this money and I'll create a bounty on Pomelo to ask, hey, I need this task completed. Are there any devs out there who can complete this task? And then now you've got actually people helping you build the proposal that you created on Pomelo. So we've got a lot of entrepreneurs creating projects on Pomelo who don't necessarily even have a team yet. Bounties is a way for them to start building their team, or getting little ad hoc things built. Another thing we're really excited for is collections. So that's going to be another product built on top of grants. It's going to be an opportunity for curators to earn some revenue through Pomelo. So there's, again, I mentioned we had over 140 projects in season 2. That's a lot of projects for the average community member to read through and figure out how should I, and if they're highly technical, how do I decide, is this really a good one I want to be sending some funds to? Collections is an opportunity for someone like a highly technical person who wants to make it their job to read through all the grants and put together, hey, these are my picks. Donate to my collection. And maybe, this is someone in the community with a strong reputation of having a strong technical skills and are highly respected in the community. So instead of, as a donor, instead of trying to figure out which grants I should donate directly to, I can pick my most trusted community member and donate to their collection and fund the public goods that they've selected. And at the same time, that curator will get to earn a little bit for their trouble.
That's an amazing service. I think it's going to be one of the most important sections in the roadmap this year. When is that expected to be out?
So bounties, we're very close. We're hopefully within the next quarter, we're going to have bounties out. Collections is going to be the next. We haven't started development on that yet. That's going to come after bounties. So we're hoping maybe season 4 or 5, somewhere in that time frame. Probably not season 4, more likely season 5. So that's something that, we're super excited for that. And it will be coming in the next 2 quarters.
Great. Okay, so what about, Daniel, start to wrapping up today's call by telling people how can they contact you, how can they know more about Pomelo? Is there also, not only for VCs who would like to work with you in the future, but for the ones that would like to, entrepreneurs that would like to jump on the project, what is the best way to contact you? Telegram, Twitter, email?
Yeah, I'm active on Twitter. You can find me personally, Daniel_Keys. That's Keyes. Follow Pomelo. It's Pomelo Grants on Twitter. I'm on Telegram as well. Daniel_Keys, same as my Twitter handle. Highly encourage your audience to join the EOS Discord channel. We've got the Discord server. We've got a Pomelo channel within that server. And like I said, that's where we do the weekly fireside chats. It's a great opportunity for anyone considering to build a project and get funding through Pomelo to get to know the rest of the community and build support for their project.
Where can we get the link for that Discord server? Is there public links? Is it in your Twitter?
It is. That's a good question. I believe it's EOS community. Let me double check that. And of course I should mention Pomelo. Pomelo.io is where you can participate in Pomelo. And actually, if you go to Pomelo.io, in our footer, you'll find a link to the Discord server there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because it happens to me that sometimes I'm trying to find a community and I'm unable to. So that's great. If they enter to Pomelo's Twitter, then the link will be there.
Yeah, Pomelo.io, that's the website where you can submit grants, donate to grants, and in our footer, the Discord link is up, and it's it's a whole bunch of letters and numbers when I look at it, but yeah, you can easily find it that way.
Great. Exciting call. I actually pretty much interested to refer your project to the entrepreneurs out there, to the ones here in London, to the ones in Europe. For the ones that are listening to us, Daniel is in Canada at the moment, so if you're around, definitely ping him. And Daniel, I think that from now on it will be good to create more awareness so entrepreneurs know that they're not alone. There is this amazing project that is already in one of the most advanced stages, and looking forward to season 4 and 5 already, I would say. Thank you so much for your time, and see you in another session of The World on Chain.
Thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting.
Bye-bye.